Our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. In today's top stories, Gaza is experiencing a famine of catastrophic proportions as more than 150 people die of starvation, including 89 children. Israeli attacks leave more than 110 dead in 24 hours. The international community demands humanitarian access and a ceasefire. Magnitude 8.8 earthquake strikes Kachakai's Russia triggered a trans-Pacific tsunami. Waves up to 15 meters flood, prompting mass evacuations from Russia to Hawaii and Japan. Hello and welcome again. The Presidency of the Republic has received the final report of the Commission of Inquiry into the death of supporters in an accident at the July 5th Stadium during a match played on the 21st of June and handed it over to the competent jurisdictions that have been tasked with making the appropriate legal arrangements, according to a statement from the Presidency of the Republic. Now, the President of the Republic, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has received a Lebanese media delegation on the sidelines of the official visit paid by the President of the Lebanese Republic, Joseph Aoun, to Algeria. The meeting was an opportunity for the Lebanese delegation to present to the President of the Republic the reality of the Arab media and the prospects for cooperation and partnership between Lebanon and Algeria in this strategic sector. The Minister of State in charge of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has received the visiting Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia. The meeting was an opportunity to review the state of Algerian-Ethiopian relations and examine ways to maintain their positive momentum, particularly in the context of the implementation of the recommendations of the fifth session of the Algerian-Ethiopian Intergovernmental Commission held last April in Addis Ababa. The two ministers also discussed the main issues on the agenda of the African Union and exchanged views and analyses on the current regional situation in the Sahel-Saharan region and the Horn of Africa. The President of the Council of the Nation, Mr. Azouz Nasri, highlighted on Wednesday in Geneva the efforts made by Algeria under the leadership of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, to establish a fair and balanced world order, according to a statement issued by the Council in a speech delivered on his behalf by the Deputy Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Mr. Rabah Baghali, on the occasion of the 6th World Conference of Speakers of Parliament held at the United Nations office in Geneva. Mr. Nasri stressed that the deterioration world is witnessing at the level is due to the fragility of the international organizations responsible for protecting rights and enforcing international law. For his part, the National People's Assembly Speaker Mundir Bouden recalled Algeria's commitment to peace, dialogue and peaceful resolution of crises.
كما تؤكد حرصها على حمل صوت الدول العربية والإفريقية وضمان الدفاع.
Algeria also reaffirms its commitment to representing the voice of Arab and African countries and ensuring the defense of common strategic interests in various issues falling within the purview of the Security Council, particularly the tragic and inhumane situation in occupied Palestine, and its full commitment to the African approach of making the continent peaceful and steadily and resolutely moving towards fundamental, strong and effective development goals. In developments that shape the future of humanity, Algeria has made the reform of the United Nations Security Council an imperative for achieving a more representative, just and balanced international system. Algeria's commitment to peace, dialogue and peaceful resolution for crises and its affirmation of the principles of non-interference in the internal affairs of states continue to inspire international action and cooperation and strengthen the United Nations role in fulfilling its responsibilities, particularly with regard to the Palestinian and Sahrawi peoples.
الشعبين الفلسطيني والصحراوي.
The Israeli occupation forces are carrying out their nearly 2-year-old genocidal aggression against the defenseless Palestinian population in the besieged Gaza Strip using, in addition to bombings and displacement orders, famine as a weapon of war in violation of international legality. Said Bougazi has more details in this report.
Medical sources confirmed yesterday that 7 people, including a child, died of starvation and malnutrition in Gaza in the past 24 hours, bringing the total number of deaths to 151, including 89 children. According to a warning issued by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification (IPC), the Gaza Strip is facing a severe risk of famine as food consumption and nutrition indicators have reached their worst levels since the beginning of the current war. The report indicated that 2 of the 3 famine thresholds have been exceeded in parts of the Gaza Strip, with the World Food Programme and the UN Children's Fund UNICEF warning that time is running out to launch a comprehensive humanitarian response. A joint press release issued by UN agencies stated that the ongoing conflict, the collapse of basic services, and severe restrictions on the delivery and distribution of humanitarian aid imposed on the United Nations have all led to catastrophic food security conditions for hundreds of thousands of people across the Gaza Strip. In this context of acute malnutrition and famine spreading rapidly across the Palestinian enclave, 15 citizens were killed today and 65 others, most of them children, were injured when Zionist occupation forces targeted civilian gatherings near an aid distribution point on Salah ad-Din Street, south of Wadi Gaza, in the central Gaza Strip. Medical sources confirmed yesterday that the death toll among 8 seekers who were taken to hospital had risen to 1,239, with more than 8,152 wounded.
Now, the deputy spokesperson for the Secretary-General Farhan Haq has said that Palestinians are continuing to struggle to save their starving children when the conditions for the delivery of aid and supplies are far from sufficient.
The Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs warns that 4 days since the start of tactical pauses in Gaza declared by the Israeli authorities, we are still seeing casualties among those seeking aid and more deaths due to hunger and malnutrition. Parents continue to struggle to save their starving children. In a social media post, UNICEF said that this is a condition that we can prevent and called for increased humanitarian access. Aid workers in Gaza have not been spared. Our partners report high workloads, burnout, and exhaustion due mainly to the lack of food among frontline workers as well as among caseworkers in mental health and psychosocial support facilities. While the UN and our partners are taking advantage of any opportunity to support people in need during the unilateral tactical pauses, the conditions for the delivery of aid and supplies are far from sufficient.
That was the deputy spokesperson for the Secretary-General Farhan Haq. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced that Canada intends to recognize the State of Palestine at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September in New York. This came during a press conference held by Prime Minister, during which he confirmed that Canada has decided to recognize the State of Palestine in September and that it will recognize or it will continue to work with partners in the international community, Britain and France, until the two-state solution is implemented. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas welcomed Canada's historic decision on Thursday to recognize the State of Palestine in September in a telephone conversation with Canadian Prime Minister, saying this will strengthen peace, stability and security in the region, the Palestinian news agency WAFA reported. The Belgian authorities will transmit to the International Criminal Court, ICC, an investigation opened 10 days ago into the Zionists accused by an NGO of committing war crimes in Gaza. The 2 individuals presented as Zionist soldiers by this NGO had been located on the 18th of July at the Belgian Electronic Music Festival. 2 complaints from the organizations had led to their arrest and their hearing by the Belgian police before they were released. More than 232 journalists and media professionals have been killed since the start of the genocidal war waged by the Zionist occupation forces against the Gaza Strip in October 2023. The Palestinian Journalists Union denounced following the killing of photojournalist Ibrahim Hajjaj. The Palestinian Journalists Union condemned the targeting of journalists as a deliberate policy to silence the truth and intimidate the media, urging international action to protect them and hold the Zionist entity accountable. Journalist Ibrahim Hajjaj was killed in a bombing while documenting the occupation's crimes in Gaza. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. This is the English service. The Spanish Platform for Solidarity with the Sahrawi People, Don't Forget Western Sahara, denounces the use of them or term disputed territory to refer to Western Sahara, saying that the latter is an occupied territory awaiting decolonization. The platform said they denounce the use of deliberately ambiguous expressions that dilute the truth. Calling Western Sahara a disputed territory is not only legally wrong, but also legitimates the occupation and silences the voice of the Sahrawi people. More details in this report with Said Bouazi.
The platform specifies that this is not a territorial conflict between two states, but a struggle for decolonization in the face of an illegal occupation imposed by force. This apparently neutral term, which has become established in recent years in media and diplomatic discourse, distorts the reality that the international and European law have clearly established. Western Sahara is not a disputed territory. It is an occupied territory awaiting decolonization, subject to the colonial domination of the Kingdom of Morocco. It stressed. The platform recalls in this respect that Western Sahara is registered since 1963 on the United Nations list of non-self-governing territories. In international law, this implies that it is in the process of decolonization, a process that is not yet complete, it said, adding that the International Court of Justice, ICJ, has issued a categorical decision there was no link of sovereignty between Morocco and Western Sahara. The ICJ reaffirmed, in fact, the inalienable right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations. However, Morocco imposed its presence by force with the complicity of Western governments and the complicit silence of a large part of the international community, it said. Decades later, this same legal position has been strengthened by the Court of Justice of the European Union. In its judgment of 21st December 2016, the EU Court of Justice declared that Western Sahara has a separate and distinct status. If the expression disputed territory is still used, it is because it offers a convenient escape route for those who wish to evade the legal and political truth, the platform said, adding that presenting the situation as a dispute between two equal parties obscures the fundamental fact that there is an occupying power that prevents the exercise of the right to self-determination and the colonized people which has been resisting for nearly 50 years.
Approximately 80,000 children are at high risk of cholera as the rainy season begins in Western Central Africa, according to Farhan Haqqa, Deputy Spokesperson for the UN Secretary General. During a daily press briefing, he said active outbreaks in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Nigeria increase the risk of cross-border transmission to neighboring countries.
Chad, the Republic of Congo, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and Togo are also grappling with ongoing epidemics. Niger, Liberia, Benin, the Central African Republic, and Cameroon remain under close surveillance due to their vulnerability. Since the start of the outbreaks, UNICEF has been delivering health and water, hygiene, and sanitation supplies for treatment facilities and communities, supporting cholera vaccination in the affected areas, and encouraging families to seek timely treatment and improve hygiene practices. But our colleagues say urgent and scaled-up efforts are needed to prevent further spread and contain the disease across the region. To scale up the emergency cholera response across the region over the next 3 months, UNICEF West and Central Africa urgently requires $20 million to provide support in health, water and sanitation, risk communication, and community engagement.
The Japan Meteorological Agency has announced that it had lifted the tsunami advisory issued after one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded off the Russian Far East. The Japan Meteorological Agency announced all tsunami advisories had been lifted after an 8.8 magnitude earthquake off Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. While millions were placed on alert across the Pacific, the most serious damage occurred in Russia, where a tsunami flooded a port and swept away buildings. Though overall damage was limited and only minor injuries were reported. In Japan, nearly 2 million people were urged to evacuate after the earthquake, but the tsunami waves remained relatively small. This is Radio Algeria International English Service. Stay tuned.